I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And that's Patrick.
And that's Patrick.
Is that his noise?
Oh.
That's the Patrick call.
All right. Heard that.
Well,
if you're only listening, Patrick is a neon sign behind us of a bat that's flapping its wings.
that's Patrick.
Patrick.
Yes.
He's a part of the show.
He's a part of the show.
He's named him.
But
Yes.
again, if you're only listening, you wouldn't know what we were referring
Well, they don't know if Patrick's just like Patricking around us in silence.
Some guy in the corner with his thumb up.
My name's Patrick.
But anyways,
My dad had a sinus problem when I was born. He meant to say Patrick, but
Patrick.
Patrick.
His name is Patrick.
But anywho, so today we're going to be talking about Dudleytown, Connecticut.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. A cursed town here in the U.S., which is super weird and creepy, and we'll get into all of
And
that.
there are many cursed towns. We can do a whole series on cursed towns.
We will. But yes, so we're going to talk about Dudleytown. But before we get into that, I want to thank a couple new Parajunkies. So we want to thank Mary Beth. We want to thank Natasha, Shauna Stotler, and Tracy Totten. Thank you so much for becoming Parajunkies.
Become a Parajunkie for no ads ever. Zero.
Yeah, no ads.
No ads.
They get live streams. They got all sorts of fun things. Ad-free. If you become an ultra Parajunkie, they just recently got like a super cool Halloween surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Which was pretty awesome, just for the ultra Parajunkie tier, which is
I hate putting ads in the stuff that we put up. I know it's necessary, but I really, absolutely can't stand putting ads in.
Right.
It's like, it feels like it's like tarnishing the not the value, but like the quality of the show. It's like, they're into a story and all of a sudden an ad comes up and it's like paper towels and they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just become a Parajunkie so you can see our art raw. All right.
Ew. I hated the way that was described.
It was horrible.
Ew.
Go ahead and watch it with commercials.
You're right. Keep the paper towels. I don't want that. No.
Come see our raw art.
But ew. Anyways, we are a couple Parajunkies away from hitting 140, which is very exciting. And that is the number that we set, that if we hit 140 Parajunkies, paid Parajunkies, because it does give you an option to be a free Parajunkie, but you
That's
really,
true.
First off, don't get anything. And also that defeats the purpose of why we set the goal. But if you become a paid Parajunkie and we hit 140, we will be going to Waverly Hills in Kentucky, and we're going to do a private investigation of that super creepy, haunted, crazy place.
Maybe we'll make it into a documentary film.
Yes, and we will record it for you, and I might get poked in the eye again. You never know.
There's a good chance.
Yeah.
There's a good chance. Her eyes are very pokeable.
They are. Well, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, first off, you missed out on a pretty fun live stream that we did in the basement, the dungeon of in Charleston, South Carolina. Chaotic ghosts, pirate prisoner ghosts. So what do you really expect? But regardless, they poked me in the eye through my eye mask, and they were like, because we were doing the Estes method, and they're like, did that hurt? I'm like, well, yeah.
Maybe because they were pirates, they were trying to say yes, because pirates say yes by going, aye.
But
it's the answer.
They're
yes.
like, welcome. You can't be you can't be down here if you're not a pirate with a missing eye, and you need an eye patch.
You need an eye patch, or you had double eye patch at that point,
right? And I was like, oh my god, I've never been poked in the eye by a ghost.
Like, boy, one of these eyes works.
It was very bizarre. They already barely work. I have horrible vision, and I don't need ghosts making it worse. Anyways. Moving on. So we're going to talk about Dudleytown. JT, we didn't have any other announcements, correct?
No, I just wanted to. I wanted to read what Ben sent me.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So we had a TikTok go viral, and it was the girl in the boxing ring, and Ben did a little bit more. Ben is the original poster. He's the owner of the photo, and he sent me a little information that I thought would be a kind of dope
follow-up. Yes.
Yeah, for people who have either just found us from the photo, from the TikTok, or people have been listening and just saw it. If you haven't seen the TikTok, go on TikTok. It's right there. All right. Let's see. So he said, I spoke to my dad last night about it because his dad owns the building. And his small town, and his family have for many years. He said there was a fire years and years ago. His boss didn't say a time frame though. A girl was crushed by steelwork there too.
Oh,
yeah, that's
interesting.
Why I wanted to. It's now a place called Viking Signs, and they have reported things will go missing or move.
Interesting.
Haunted spot.
Yeah. Very.
Well, if we ever make it over to the UK,
we'll go visit you.
We'll do it eventually. If all the people who are on the brink of becoming a pair junkie become a pair junkie, and then boom goes dynamite, we're over in the UK doing this,
looking for the demon in the boxing ring.
If we get to 500 pair junkies,
oh, if we get to 500 pair junkies, heck yeah.
We'll make a trip across the pond.
We will. Bro. Yeah, maybe we'll take Emma from Real Life. Ghost stories with us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be a great idea. Yeah, she's homie.
Yeah, cool. Exactly. Emma, if you're listening, I don't even know if she listens to podcasts because not all podcasters listen to podcasts. Which fun fact, true. But it's I don't know if she's listening. That's but true. If you are Emma, we'll come visit you and we'll take you to this creepy place. We'll take her out of Ireland. So, anyways, so we'll head on into Connecticut now. So Dudleytown, Connecticut, often referred to as the Village of the Damned.
Dudleytown, Connecticut.
There you go. That's the title of today's episode. Dudleytown, Connecticut.
I love how country we get in all that. I'm from Connecticut.
Yeehaw! No, it's like, I have a trust fund, but I live in the damned.
Well, let me tell you, I'll tell you, I own the forest, and I won't let anyone go in there.
Yeah, whoever owns the forest, let people in.
Well, it's a sanctuary now, right? It's a wildlife refuge.
Who cares? It's anyways.
And it's saving people from themselves because
let us in.
Lord knows people will go in and get eaten.
But we
their
need,
faces.
But we need to go. Anyways. So it's an abandoned settlement that has a reputation of being haunted, as you can tell by our calling it Dudleytown. This ghost town was once a thriving community in the 18th century, located in the area of Cornwall. It's not actually a town, but rather part of Cornwall that became known as Dudleytown. So the legends surrounding Dudleytown included tales of mysterious disappearances, strange sightings, unexplained phenomena, all the good things. And stories suggest that the area is cursed, possibly due to the alleged misdeeds of the Dudley family while they were in England before immigrating to America.
Chased across the sea.
So over the years, and we'll obviously do more of a breakdown of all this, but over the years, reports of shadowy figures, orbs, ghostly apparitions, as well as eerie feelings of dread have been associated with the area. And additionally, there have been claims of a silence in the forest around Dudleytown. Wait until you hear the name of the forest. It'll make a lot of sense. I feel like they really asked for it.
Yeah, really.
But with an absence of the usual wildlife sounds that add to the unsettling atmosphere. And as a preface, before we get into any of this is private property. They do not welcome visitors. It is, you will get arrested for trespassing. Do not go to Dudleytown. If you listen to this and they're like, I'm going to go traipse around into that forest.
You should probably go to Dudleytown.
I'm not catching a charge for Dudleytown. So,
and actually, New England is woefully haunted.
Very.
Ridiculously haunted. So Dudleytown is not even on the top of the list, really.
Yeah.
Because when people talk about haunted places in New England, there's plenty. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because Dudleytown is one of those like great local lore, legend lore kind of things, but it doesn't have that international I only know about it vaguely because I'm technically from Connecticut. And like spending, well, it's weird because my family's military, but my grandparents were from Newington, Connecticut, and so every time we went anywhere for holidays, we always went to Newington, Connecticut, and I even lived there for a short period of time. But the stories are insane and off the hook, and I remember driving past through Cornwall, past where Dudleytown, and the very casual mention, abandoned town over there, people die, it's terrible.
Yeah, no good. No good
happens here.
0 out of 10.
Question: who else, when hearing Dudleytown, thinks of Harry Potter?
Everybody.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me except for just the fact
Dudley.
Yeah.
Dudley.
But like crazy, right? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. Anyways,
sorry.
sorry.
So, Curse of the Dudley family. So, the Curse of the Dudley family had origins, is kind of the source of the hauntings, a lot of people believe. And they believe that the Dudley family was cursed when they were in England. The curse was said to begin with Edmund Dudley, who was beheaded for treason during the reign of Henry VIII. This curse is alleged to have followed the Dudley descendants to America, where it caused misfortune and madness. Edmund Dudley was a financial agent of King Henry VIII and was executed for treason after the king's death, and his son, John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, was also executed for attempting to place Lady Jane Grey on the throne.
That's super intrigue.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's very interesting. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
The descendants of the Dudley family immigrated to America in the 17th century, and one member of the family, Thomas Dudley, became a respected governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony.
Okay.
Now, however, it is his relatives who later settled in the area of Cornwall, Connecticut, that became associated with the dark legends. So the curse was said to bring about madness, suicide, fatal accidents, and natural disasters to those who lived or near the area of Dudleytown. And they all experienced various tragedies, and the curse was blamed for these misfortunes. Now, there was also another person who was associated with causing some more of the important madness, if you will, and that was the Horace Greeley connection.
Oh.
So some accounts loosely associate the area with the tragic death of Horace Greeley's wife, who is said to have either died under mysterious circumstances or gone insane. With some versions of the tale suggesting that this was connected to a curse associated with the Greeley's land near Dudleytown.
Before we go any further,
Yes, go for it.
I would like to say that Horace Greeley is such a good name for like a ghost.
Right?
Haunted by Horace Greeley. That's the spirit of Horace Greeley coming through the fields to eat your face.
Exactly. I completely agree.
Yeah, Horace Greeley. It doesn't get better than that. Old Horace Greeley. You can still hear his cries in the middle of the night.
After he killed his wife.
Right. It's up there with Ichabod Crane. You know, it's got that nice sound to it. Horace Greeley. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. But yes, so the Greeley's land was near Dudleytown. However, basically, this was slightly discredited because Horace Greeley, according to records, Horace Greeley's wife died in New York, but they did live near Dudleytown. So not impossible that she's not saying, I'm going to cause madness. I think it's the curse of the Dudley family personally, but that is just me. So
I like a good curse here.
Yeah.
Right. So the legend of Dudleytown includes claims of a unusually high number of suicides among its residents. And these claims contribute to the lore that paints the area as cursed or haunted. Now, here are some of the various stories that are associated with that. So some stories suggest that the harsh living conditions, isolation, and possibly the influence of the supposed curse led some individuals in Dudleytown to take their own lives. Now, none of these have very specific names or dates associated with it, but it was the 18th century. I mean, we weren't really keeping record of suicides, and also it was very frowned upon. So,
yeah, it was probably kept secret in a lot of cases anyway.
Exactly. There is also the supposed suicides that are woven into a broader narrative of a curse that befell upon Dudleytown because of the Dudley's family's ancestral connection to English nobility and the regicide of King Charles I, or to local Native American curses, and the curse supposedly manifested as mental illness, which turned into suicide. So they believe that the Native Americans cursed the colonists, which is a little bit... a bit of a stretch. I mean, that one's a little...
Maybe slightly racist.
A little bit. But it is one of the theories, if you will.
Although also coming into the idea that some people believe that the Salem witch trials and the behavior in Salem was caused by a type of mold.
Yes.
On their bread, on their rye that they were using for the bread. That whole region might have, that type of mold on their wheat grains that could contribute to like a large scale psychosis that seems to be appearing, self-destructive patterns and things like that. Could be because they were eating food that was made with, toxins that could cause this kind of mania.
Exactly. And so that is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. But also, and something we'll mention too, is if you're living in these times where very harsh winters.
Oh, yes.
Not great access to anything medical. Imagine if you got a toothache and you couldn't do anything about it because there's no dentist in your area. That would also drive people insane and want to take their own lives.
Sure. There's stories like in Vermont, people would die, but you wouldn't know it until spring because they were under snowdrifts. Wow. And you basically wait until spring and find bodies just lying about.
Exactly.
Because people had frozen to death.
Some people also say that only specific families who had relations to the Dudley family, like if they were related or very close friends, that they were the ones that would also be cursed into committing suicide. But also that is neither here nor there.
But that could also speak to like a certain toxin, because it's possible that a certain strain of blood doesn't, react well to certain things. It's kind of like allergies. You could be genetically predisposed to certain things, or even mania for that matter. For certain mental illnesses are hereditary. So
yes,
who knows?
Now, there are, over time, the Dudley descendants spread out and the population of Dudleytown grew, and the curse was rumored to affect anyone who came to live in the area, not just the Dudley family, and not necessarily in the suicide factoid, but more in like the insanity side of it. But that also just could have been that the area was awful. Yeah. And so today, the tale of the Dudley family curse is a mix of historical anecdote, folklore, and paranormal speculation. But because there's a lack of written records from the time of Dudleytown, when it was inhabited, it makes it difficult to decipher between fact and fiction. And that is the case with a lot of these, like, ghost towns, if you will.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. But when it comes to hauntings, though, so there's a lot of unexplained phenomena. There have been numerous reports of strange occurrences such as floating orbs of light, sudden drops of temperature, and unexplained myths. Also not uncommon when it comes to residual type haunting. I mean, it was a town at one point. There's going to be energy left behind. And especially if it's like that high volume of like people losing their minds.
Yeah, and some people would actually argue that the insane mind is churning out a different type of energy into the air, the way that they process information, what they can see and what they can do. It's possible that the agitation of the brain waves can actually alter an environment and make that environment more susceptible to poltergeist activity, to extra dimensional and paranormal activity.
Mm-hmm. But visitors and past residents have described the area as having an oppressive silence and punctuated occasionally by disembodied whispers and ghostly laughter.
Nobody likes that.
Nobody likes that.
Nobody.
Now, when it comes to the mental illness side of things as well, several accounts from the 19th century tell of residents who suffered from insanity. And there are lots of people who lived in Dudleytown who became mentally ill and were dying under mysterious circumstances or were committing acts of violence. Wow. So now there are a lot of reports that the water was contaminated at the time. This could also be a big hand in the fact that people are going insane. Because if you're comparing it to the Salem witch trials, where, what was the woman's name? Where she she got like all the girls together and they did the ritual where they like made pea cakes and fed it to the woman or something. Yeah. That was largely associated with her having consumed this particular mold that created a mental instability, if you will. Mm-hmm. So it's very possible that these people are also having that same instance but also there was no studies done into mental illness, and mental illness has always been around. And there's a very possible explanation that it's just simply people who were having these violent tendencies already not being taken care of.
It's true.
And just amplified by an area that is with a lot of other people who are also not being taken care of. There have also been disappearances of inhabitants. So some stories claim that people who entered the woods surrounding Dudleytown sometimes disappear without a trace. And feeding the legend that the area is cursed and that an evil presence lurks in the forest. And let me tell you what the name of the forest is. It's called the Dark Entry Forest.
The Dark Entry Forest.
If they didn't want that to be evil and haunted, why would you name it that?
And it was like the 1920s, right?
Yes.
When so it's not like they were leaning towards anything. They were just like, you know what this forest looks like? Dark entry.
Dark entry.
I'm doing it now. Now I'm doing country voices.
Wow, dark entry.
I'm sorry.
It's a frontier. So, I mean.
It's like, this is a wicked fast. Look at that wicked fast.
This wicked
fast.
But yes.
It's a dark entry. Dark entry fast. Dark entry fast.
So some of the earliest tales of the disappearances date back to the time when Dudleytown was an active community in the colonial times. There are stories that some residents went into the woods and never returned with no explanation as to what happened to them. Now, this can also slightly be explained outside the paranormal, if you will, just because if it's that dark and gruesome of a forest, animals. Sure. Also, if you mostly professional hikers or like outdoors people will tell you, if you break an ankle in the middle of the woods and you're by yourself, good luck getting back out.
That's it. It's over.
But also, I can imagine,
and people can get really in their head that because you're in you're surrounded by civilization, that going into woods, if you just keep walking, it's deceptive. Woods are deceptive. It does not take a lot of woods to get you lost, disoriented, and never found, because woods are expansive and they are very difficult. And even like a search party of 100 people across might miss you because there's so many places you could have gone. There's so many ways you could have gone. And if you fall down a hole, if you go into there's sinkholes, there are minor caves, things like that. it's a good chance that you could never be seen again.
And
Absolutely.
And during the colonial time too, these are people who do not know this land, do not understand the area at all. It's not like they're setting up a town, if you will. So it's totally possible that because especially these are people coming from England and the UK in general. This dark woods, but not very unsafe woods.
That's true. That's
true. Yeah. So they might not have known what they were up against because they just hadn't experienced things like that. But regardless, there were also disappearances of children. There were a few legends that children who wandered into the woods around Dudleytown would vanish without a trace, which also added to the eerie reputation.
Sure.
But even still, to modern times, there have been rumors of hikers and thrill seekers who go into the forest and never come out. So, which is very interesting because we've had a long time to figure out these woods. But
we have a lot of new devices that help us navigate. We have GPS. We have
exactly
any number of things that we could probably pull upon to get us out.
Ultra 2 can navigate me anywhere, really.
Exactly.
Right.
Satellite.
Right on my wrist.
Even without the Apple Watch stuff, there's satellite phones where literally you can be anywhere in the middle.
Just a pocket compass these days. I mean, they're very common. There's a compass on my phone, so even without service, I should be able to figure out where north, west, south, and east.
Maybe it's like antlers. There's like the Wendigo monster.
Oh, sure.
That
could be.
If you haven't seen Antlers, it's a good movie, but it's like there's just these people there, looking for hikers, and they're like, "Oh, well, we got one. Here you go, Mr. Antlers."
Nom, 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 nom. That's not Antlers. What you're thinking of?
What am I thinking
Antlers
of?
This is the bad Wendigo movie. The good Wendigo movies that we mentioned it a couple podcasts.
The Ritual.
Thank you.
That's what it is. Yes. Yeah.
Antlers was okay. Ritual was really good.
The Ritual. Yes, I'm thinking of The Ritual, but. Yeah, where they're like, here you go, have at him, and he's like, gore, and
gore.
Maybe that's what's happening.
Maybe that's what's happening
in the dark entry forest.
The dark entry forest.
But yes, there also have been a lot of paranormal investigative teams that have gone out that way who have reported experiencing sensations of disorientation, temporary separation from their groups, and leading to brief disappearances that are often resolved when the person or persons are found later. So it could just be one of those forests where, like, almost like Aokigahara, where it's just like they just have something about them that makes people either not unlike an Aokigahara, where it brings out a sense of depression or violence, but it's almost like it just absolutely separates you from reality.
Can we talk about that bridge where dogs jump to their death?
No.
What the?
There's a bridge where dogs jump to their death, and it's inexplicable, but it happens. And if the dog doesn't die, it'll climb back up and then jump again.
Stop. What? What? What?
But it's that same notion. Is there something causing it? And what makes it so interesting is that it's an animal that's doing it. This animal, it's somehow. Let me see if
they're
I can
like
find
lemmings just jumping off a cliff. Like
it's bizarre. I can't even remember where it is, but let's see.
How bizarre! JT's like, I need to know where this bridge is because I'm never taking my dogs there.
Literally.
Could you imagine if Argyle was like,
I'd be jumping in after.
Yeah, but that is insane. And this is obviously, not one of the only places in the world where it has those types of forests.
Right. That's what I'm thinking is like, is there something magnetic? The dog suicide bridge.
Not the dog suicide bridge.
It's in Scotland.
Stop.
Where?
Into a Scottish gorge.
You need to stop.
Why do so many pets keep leaping into a Scottish gorge? Is the name of this New York Times article.
The Fae have to
Overton.
eat. So
Overton.
The Overton Bridge.
That's the one. Madison. Remember I said when we were talking about cursed locations, it was this. That's the one. That's a cursed location.
It's been dubbed Dog Suicide Bridge.
Wait. We can't talk about it
because we're going to do an episode.
All right, next episode, y'all. Dog Suicide Bridge.
The Fae have to feast. So
yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's awful. I hate that.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's interesting.
JT's a massive dog lover, so that's going to be a really uncomfy episode for him.
Very uncomfy. That's so. Ugh.
So
man.
Why? Continuing on with not Panera. Panera investigations. Paranormal investigations.
The age of bread. That's what Panera means. The age of bread.
Really?
Yeah. The Pan era.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, over the years, paranormal investigators and enthusiasts have claimed that they have experienced supernatural activity while investigating Dudleytown. Investigators have claimed to capture EVPs in the area, recordings that are believed by some to represent ghostly voices. Now, these sounds are not usually heard at the time of the recording, obviously, and are supposedly detected upon playback because the way EVPs differ from like normal video is they're listening, these devices are listening for sounds that we cannot hear with our own ears, basically. Dalen, when we interviewed the Ghost Brothers, he was explaining where it's like it's a really annoying task to do EVPs.
Yeah.
Because it's literally like you're talking into the device or you're talking out loud. You're like, "What's your name?" Silence, and then you're like, hopefully it said something. Yeah. It's
going back and listening for that, and it's that's where the Spirit Box became such a huge hit,
right?
Because it was far more immediate.
Yes. Exactly. People like immediate gratification.
It's very true.
But yeah, orbs and mists have also been captured. So photographs taken by ghost hunters sometimes show orbs or light or misty figures. Not very uncommon with anywhere, really. Orbs and mist are sometimes the most common paranormal activity that people experience because it's just all an orb is. It's just like a manifestation of energy, really. It's
like a condensing of energy.
Right.
And I used to call it ghost food because I think what an orb is when a spirit needs energy, it's pulling it from the environment. It's creating something edible for it, something nourishing for it. So you often like, what's a cold spot? A cold spot is where the ambient temperature has been consumed by something.
Right.
It's taking energy. But in the sense of like taking a picture and getting an orb, I think that is the finite point at which energy is about to be consumed.
And it also could be the fact that they catch so many orbs and cold spots, because that's the next one I was going to say is a lot of people experience cold spots, is probably because this is private property nowadays and they're starved of attention.
Absolutely.
You know, these are not well-fed ghosts.
No.
And they're like, please interact with us.
And if they're used to like driving people insane and having them kill themselves or others, they're probably like,
exactly.
Where's all the crazy people?
Right. We're like, we need crazy people. Feed us. They're just like little fish. Just like
little fish.
And they're just waiting for you to put your fish flakes into the tank.
Come to eat your sanity.
Yeah.
Nom, 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 nom.
Nom, 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 nom. But there's also a lot of EMF fluctuations. So people will bring their EMF detectors. And a lot of people have had situations where their EMFs, they like the second they get over towards the tree line of where the dark entry forest is.
Welcome to the dark entry forest.
It feels like it needs like one of those like super creepy spiky Victorian gates in front of it. It's like that. But anyway, so personal experiences, investigators have reported feeling a sense of unease, being watched or even touched. Some describe a heavy atmosphere or sudden emotional change, which is quite compelling, because that's not necessarily to say that the spirits were the ones that were making people commit suicide, but it could be, how it is with like the Sorrel Weed House, where it's like if you go into the slave quarters, if you have depression, people who have depression have very intense feelings in that area. It could definitely just be because of the heightened amount of suicides.
And I want to say that with the advance of pharmaceuticals, we have learned that there are, because you hear it, that there are certain drugs that, in the warning, they're like, suicidal ideation is a symptom of some kind of chemical thing that you've put in your body, which means that there have been a long history where we did not really pay attention to the fact that you could consume or ingest something that is going to chemically alter your well-being to the point of suicidal ideation, because it's like increased gambling is something that can happen from a chemical that I take.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a weird thing to say. And it's like, well, that's how fragile the environment of our brain is. The introduction of a chemical can literally change the way we think, can literally change the perceptive quality of our lives, to the point at which some people will kill themselves because of a medication they've taken. And it's like, what does that tell us about the history of mental illness?
Right.
Could it be about, your gut biome? Could it be about something that you ingested? Were there times when foods were so unregulated and so unhealthy that people were losing their minds, and all we could think was curse?
Exactly. Well, and that truly is a big part of it. And it's a very interesting thing to think about curses and what have you. And definitely not out of the realm of possibility in the way of that, because there was such a high volume of things like this. But mass hysteria is not the first place to have any type of mass hysteria. But regardless. But in the way of like an investigator nowadays going there and feeling an emotional change, a lot of people are empaths, and they are sensitive to changes or heightened emotions left behind by spirits and things like that. It very well could have been that you're experiencing the emotions of the people who died in this area. So that doesn't surprise me. But people have also accounted on seeing shadows or figures that appear and disappear, as well as light anomalies in an area where there are no obvious sources of light, which is also very interesting. A lot of it does feel very residual to me. Yeah. And if there are active, intelligent spirits there, they are doing literally everything they can to get attention.
Ring all the bells.
Ring all the bells.
Flash the lights.
Exactly.
Do everything you can. And there's an area not too far from here, from Dudleytown, and not too far, relatively speaking. I mean, it's probably hundreds and hundreds of miles. But in Massachusetts, the Bridgewater Triangle, which is a area where people are like, UFOs happen here, poltergeist activity, ghosts, and it's a very isolated tract of land where they've mapped out a triangle where it's
that's also on our list for cursed locations.
Yes, you absolutely have to figure that if there's something going on with ley lines, magnetic poles, is there some kind of ore under the ground? Is the water picking up some kind of mineral that is driving this kind of sensation? Because people find themselves in these areas. And they're having these experiences, and they're not, regionally, they seem to have the same kind of topography, the same sort of fauna, and what is the other? Fauna.
Flora.
Flora. Thank you. I was like, what's the plant? Flora. The fact that they have similar environments and they can produce these similar effects.
Right.
It's interesting.
And the last thing that people experience when they go to this area, aiding to the disorientation side of things, is people have been reporting feeling disoriented or lost in their area, even if they are familiar with the terrain. And this can partially be concerning for some people because electronic devices such as GPS units malfunction in the area. So it makes a lot of sense why the hikers and people like that are getting
And even
lost.
that notion that there's something that, because that's now you're dealing with heavy magnetic interference,
right?
Which can very much interfere with you. Like the EMF readers that people use, those K2s, are to look for electromagnetic disturbances in your home, loose and faulty wiring and things like that, because those things can make you disoriented, dizzy, feel things. A lot of people who have paranormal experiences, if there is a high output of electromagnetic from faulty wiring, they can have all these sensations. Literally your brain can pick up these electromagnetic disturbances.
And maybe none of this even has anything to do with actual Dudleytown and everything to do with the Dark Entry Forest.
Right.
Because one of the weirdest things because mind you, all of these weird encounters that people are having where, like they're getting lost and they're getting disoriented, it's all happens in the forest. And the biggest thing people encounter when they're in that forest is the intense feeling of silence. There's a particularly eerie characteristic of the area where people report the absence of forest sounds. So visitors have said that there's an unnatural stillness and a lack of birdsong, which adds to the unsettling atmosphere.
Oh boy.
There's also
and that too could be because of the magnetic situation, because animals are very sensitive to magnetic waves, and will avoid it. Yeah, exactly.
And there's a intense lack, which is partially why people aren't allowed in this area, because they're trying to get the animals to come back, because there's an intense lack of wildlife.
Oh wow!
So maybe it was never.
If it's even driving the animals crazy, there's something going on there.
Maybe it was never the Dudley family, and they were just blamed. So
they just
happened to move,
built on the wrong plot of land.
Yeah, maybe don't go into the Dark Entry Forest, and maybe the people who did go insane, if we're looking at it like a folkloric, fun perspective, obviously not fun when people die, but
for story's sake.
But for story's sake, maybe it's the people who went into the forest and did make it out, that the forest was like, I'm going to keep these.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, absolutely. But we love a good haunted forest. But yeah, that is what we have for y'all today on Dudleytown.
And we may have launched a new series
exactly
based on this.
No,
and you were introduced to it from a guest on tour.
Yes.
Just says, have you heard of Dudleytown?
That happens to me a lot. So people will come on my tours, and some people, it's usually people share their paranormal stories, which I welcome. I love hearing people's stories. But this particular guest was from Connecticut, and she was like, have you ever heard of Dudleytown? And I was like, no, I've never heard of Dudleytown. She's like, well, you need to look it up. You'll find it very interesting.
And it is.
Yeah,
it's very
it is.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. So yeah, if you guys have suggestions of places that you want us to look up, or like topics that you want us to talk about, please let us know. Send it to Ghost Mail. You can find us at ghostmail@hauntedcitypodcast.com.
Why did you become British?
I don't know. I do that sometimes. It's a fun time.
It is a fun time. Fun time for all.
Exactly. But yes, so thank you guys for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't go into the Dark Entry Forest, or if you hear a name like the Dark Entry Forest, maybe don't do that.
Although there must be somebody in charge of it, so if you want to, ask permission.
Exactly.
Maybe they'll grant it. Who knows?
Or just leave it alone. Listen to the animals.
If the animals don't go there, maybe you should.
Yeah, and the words of Two Girls, One Ghost. Listen to your pets.
Listen to your pets.
Trust your pets.
Trust your pets.
Trust your pets.
And so, same with this. Listen to the birds and the foxes. They don't steer you wrong.
Right. Right. If the animals don't go there, maybe you shouldn't.
Exactly. But yes, with that though, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.